breaking news from RTV6.
Thank you for joining us on HTSN and our RTV6 app. I'm Jade Hindman. Three-time Indianapolis 500 champ Dario Franchitti is set to talk publicly for the first time about his retirement and end to his racing career caused by that horrific crash in Houston earlier this year. He's about to hold a news conference right now. Let's take you there live.
Welcome Dario here for his first media availability since Houston. Four-time IndyCar champion, three-time Indy 500 winner. 31-time race winner, 8th on the all-time list. Yeah, that many. What we'll do here today is we'll have Dario start out with an opening statement, and then we'll do 30 minutes of Q&A. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do one-on-ones with Dario, but Managing Director for Team Target, Mike Hull, is here. Mike, thank you. Tony Kanaan, driver of the number 10 Target car, and Charlie Kimball, the number 83 Nova Norris driver. So with that, Dario.
Oh, morning everybody. Thanks for being here today. Sorry, first of all, sorry I haven't been in a position to chat any earlier. Just part of the whole recovery process. But yeah, it was just a chance today. I was in town visiting the doctors, and it was a chance to just have a little chat and you know, say thank you to everybody for all the kind wishes, you know, whether that's the fans, you guys in the media, everybody involved in IndyCar, and especially the guys at the Target team here. It's been so nice to know that you know, I was appreciated, and that really helped with the recovery and some or part of the recovery so far, and some pretty interesting times. So. Looking forward to the future, and rather than being kind of bummed about not getting to drive, you know, the number 10 Target car again, and other things after that, I'm just very thankful for the career. I don't even like that word, career, for the racing I was able to do, and the fun I was able to have, and all the things that went along with that. So. Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to see you all here today, and everybody on the web. Thank you.
Great. We'll hop right into questions. So if you have one, raise your hand, and Chris here will come around with the wireless mic.
Before we do that, stand up, TK. You got to see TK's outfit. Come on, come on, come on. He's at the wrong team, I think. You'll all know what I mean. Come here.
I got the memo. There was black slacks.
Black pants. Look at him.
You like it?
You're looking good, man. Dixie's going to be pissed because if he thinks he's got to wear black pants every week. Sorry, I was
Start with questions here.
Dario, have you had much time to think about the future now? What is your plan with the team, and your thoughts going ahead?
Well, like I said, you know, it's around about this sort of an announcement, I said, you know, I'd love to stay involved in IndyCar racing, and certainly with the Target team and everybody involved in that. And that's something we're working on. You know, we're working to make that happen. So, you know, hopefully that'll all come along soon, and I can, you know, start, you know, really getting involved and working with the team and continuing that. I've already been doing it. I've been upstairs giving the engineers a hard time, and they've been giving me a hard time. And you know, just talking. Poor TK's phone's already burned out, to be honest. I've got this idea, and he's like, oh, good. You know, I've had a lot of time to think, so it's been, you know, that it's something I really want to do, and so we're working to make that happen.
Dario, once you were told, you know, medically, hey, you're in too much danger to get back in a race car, how long after that was it when you announced that? Was there a contemplation period where you thought, you know what, I can still do this? Or what was the thought process between when you were told that and when we were told that you had been told that?
The important thing for me was to tell Chip, first of all. And I think it was 2 days between the time I got told and when I told Chip. and I don't really remember how much longer it was after that. My head's a little times and dates are a little scrambled, to be honest. But the first thing I wanted to do was tell Chip, and that was 2 days after. I spent 2 days kind of thinking, okay, how can I get around this here? Okay, because I've done it before. You know, I drove 2003. I drove with a broken back in one race. Until Dr. Trammell found out and got really upset at me. So I've driven with quite a few broken body parts over the years, but so I thought, oh, there's got to be a way. There's got to be some kind of negotiation here, and there wasn't. And so then, you know, the next phone call was to Chip. I called Mike. You know, I called Dix, TK, and those guys, and just was like, this is what's going to happen. I thought you were handing it to Tony there.
He's asked all the questions he can ask now. Has there been any lingering effects from the concussion? Any problems stemming from that? I would just, and then talk a little bit about your back, because I think the back is probably more straightforward.
Well, I'm not going to go into the whole ins and outs of the concussion, but just problems related with any normal big concussion, really. But I will say the last 3 weeks there's been a big improvement. I mean, TK and I were together in Miami when I went for the consultation with Doc Olvey, and that was probably the lowest point, actually. Not because I was with Tony, but just because of yeah, I really wasn't. That was probably the lowest point. But the last 3 weeks have really improved a lot, to the fact I can do this today. I couldn't have done this 3 weeks ago. The back is healing. I'm seeing Dr. Olvey soon. I saw Dr. Weber about my ankle yesterday. That's coming along really well. Saw Dr. Trammell about my back. That's coming along well. So it's all as expected.
Hey, when you were seeing the specialist in Miami, Dr. Olvey and the others, was your mind open to the thought that maybe this was serious enough that it could be the end, and how hard was that to accept?
I didn't feel good. I know that. At that point, I really was worried, because I'd had a serious concussion in 2000, and I was back in the car after, I think it was 3 weeks. I'd broken my pelvis, and I kind of told them I was okay, and got back in the car after 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, this time, I was in no shape to do anything. So I went to see Doc Olvey, and as I said, I went in and did the tests and stuff, and it was an hour-long MRI. And I came back to the house, and I work out, man. I said, I'm a little worried here. In fact, I'm a lot worried that this is not going to. And that's when I said to him, I said, if I don't, for whatever reason, I'm not able to drive anymore, I would love you to drive the 10 car. If that would be my dream. I have no power to make that happen, but I would, that would make me very happy to see you get a chance to drive that. And that's when we had that discussion. But at the time, I was still, this might not happen. Really, that day was the first time I thought, I might be in trouble here. And that was pretty tough. But at that point as well, you don't have all your kind of mental faculties, so everything's a bit numbed. You know what I mean? Everything's a pain in the ass to just do anything. So it was, yeah.
More questions?
Dario, what's been the hardest part of this process for you, these couple of months, these first 8 weeks or so here since the accident?
Each stage is a little different. At first it was the pain in the ankle, actually, and then it became the head and the issues with that, and then it just became the not being able to move. I mean, just day after day, not being able to go and I've not been able to drive a car. Never been a race car. I've not been able to drive a street car. I've not been able to go. Obviously, not been able to go running. any of that stuff. I've read a lot of books, actually. I read some good racing books. If you guys are looking for any recommendations on racing drivers' autobiographies, I've got a few. So that was a couple of stages, and then obviously with with realizing and being told that, I wasn't going to be able to race anymore, that was a whole different stage. And it's that old thing of you don't know what you've got, right? And pretty quickly, I realized how much I was going to miss doing what I do. Just little things like working with engineers, like phoning Simmons up and giving him a hard time. Just those tiny things, going into the shop there and complaining about my seat. And then the guys went testing at Sebring, and I was like, oh. So, luckily Scott and Barry at the back were texting me, talking, through it. I got to talk to Tony and to Scott afterwards at length and get involved in that process. And then the next sort of hard part was really when TK got announced in the 10 car. And as much as I said before, I wanted that to happen. If I wasn't going to drive it, it was the final. Oh, this is real, And so that was tough. But it's been little things like phone calls from people along the way. Like Chip's been really good at picking up the phone in just different times. Like the other day, he called from the announcement with the 10 car. Actually, he's smart. He used your phone. Did you notice that? To call international. He's like, yeah. Luckily, I was polite when I answered the phone. But little phone calls like that, or any of the guys in the team here just picking up the phone and hey, well, how you doing? How's this thing? How's it going? And Simmons is sitting there. He's been through this a lot because he's had a fair few crashes in different cars, and so he understands some of the what you go through. So we've had those some of those conversations, and he's been really helpful. And he retired from racing too, and went on to to achieve all these crazy success as an engineer. So that's been it's been helpful. As I said, a lot of people have helped just with little phone calls and stuff.
Dario, when you think back to that, I don't know, you're 5 or 6 when you got that first go-kart to this moment, the obvious answer is going to be the 2 trophies sitting beside you. But when you think about that entire journey, how would you summarize everything you accomplished? And is there one specific moment that jumps out at you as, what, that was the defining moment to you, to Dario?
I think as a defining moment is probably one none of you guys would even think about. It was back in 1991, and Charlie was 6. I was only 12. I was racing Vauxhall Junior, and it was the last race of the season, and I pretty much had to win the championship, and I did, and that got me to Jackie Stewart's attention, which started the ball rolling to get me here, because without that there would have been no here. And so that was probably one of the defining moments, believe it or not. Yeah. What was the first part of that?
How would you summarize all of it? Your style, or how would you want us, if somebody were to ask me, hey, tell me about Dario Franchitti, what would you say?
I've had a lot of time on my hands. So I've been reading a lot of the stuff that you guys have written, and I've been really touched by the stuff that's been written. So I liked what's been written. I've had a lot of fun doing this. As far as the driving, and I'm looking forward to a whole different chapter now. But I've really had, there's been some crap days. There's been some pretty devastating days. But, for the last, I guess, almost 30 years from the first time I raced a go-kart, I've had a really good time doing it, and an absolute privilege to do it. And, I think when you get involved with people that kind of feel that way, when they don't feel they're coming to work every day, when you're getting to do something that's amazing and you dreamt of doing as a kid, whether you're a driver, an engineer, a team manager, a mechanic. It's pretty cool.
You mentioned Jackie Stewart. Have you reached out to him or anyone else who's retired after a long career in the sport and gone on to do other notable things?
Jackie was the first phone call I received. As soon as the announcement went out, I mean, obviously we knew it was going out. Again, I spoke to Chip right before it went out. He called me to make sure everything was okay and I was doing all right. And then literally it went out, and Jackie was in Austin, I think, at the Grand Prix, and the phone rang. I was at my mum and dad's house, and the phone rang, and it was him. And I've spoken to him quite a lot subsequently, and there's been so many people have reached out. I haven't managed to get back to them all yet. And one of the kind of the things that was for me as a kind of a lover of the sport was that a lot of my heroes reached out to me. Hey, you know, this retirement thing's not that bad, or you know, all these different things, and so I'm going to lean on heavily on a lot of those guys to help me sort of navigate the way through it. Although Mike this morning was on the phone to Zanardi, so I had a good old chat with him, and he was more trying to say, hey, you know, if you want to do something, we'll have some fun. We can go drive something. I'm like, unfortunately that can't happen. But he was all he's all, you know, all jacked up and stuff. So it's been great that all these different drivers have and as I say, a lot of my heroes have reached out to me.
More questions?
Jake talked about when you were a kid and all that, and surely back even when you were a teenager in your early 20s, America wasn't part of the dream. Yet this is how it's turned out, and you've become one of the greats in American motorsport. Any regrets, any thoughts on just the path you took?
No, none at all. Who knows how, had I gone the Formula One route, how it would have ever turned out. And as I said before, I'm so happy with what I've been allowed to do. And interestingly, Scotland is always my home, always has been. But as far as when I go to a racetrack, I feel at home in America. And it almost feels a little alien now to go to a track back in Europe. It's weird. And so, you know, I have really loved being over here racing. And part of the reason that I want to continue that is because I've enjoyed it so much. I've enjoyed being involved in that, and the way, you know, the way IndyCar racing is done, and the way the guys, you know, here do it. And the guys in this team do it as well.
Are you open to the idea of being a broadcaster, or would you rather be on the competitive side? Some guys have gone either direction.
Yeah, I'm open to it. Absolutely. If it was done in the right way, yes, I would be open to it. You've got to be. I think whatever you do, though, you've got to do it properly, and that's something that you know, I'd have to take into account. You know, could I work with the team 100% and give 100% to that and be totally focused on that and broadcast too? You know, could I do those things? If I could, then I'd be interested in it. But you know, there's no point doing anything, you know, half-assed. There's just not the way I do things. And the guys here would get pretty pissed off pretty quickly. And you know, the reason for me to do something here would be to add something to the team. You know, the team here is pretty successful. You know, that's an understatement, obviously. So I have to add something if I'm going to come along.
And if you could, I know you're the third person in this discussion, but what did you tell and what did you talk to your cousin about this possibility? What were his thoughts, your communication? Did you encourage that?
Well, I'm going to keep that. You know, I'm going to keep that whole thing between him and I. It wouldn't be right to sort of talk about that publicly, I'd say. But we've had a lot of discussions the past sort of month or so, him and I, about, you know, what's happened, where he's looking at going, all that sort of stuff.
Questions? We probably have 3 or 4 minutes left here.
I thought that was the handle. The only people you can tell in that trophy, really, the Unsers. The guy who's done this is definitely an Unser fan, and TK really looks like TK. I don't mean just a nose either, and that's good. Yeah, stunning.
Bit of a theoretical question. Let's say you're medically cleared to participate in one more racing event. What would you choose to do? Another Indy 500, Le Mans with your brother, something else?
Good question. That would be a very tough one. If I had to pick one race to do, oh man, I would say, I mean, obviously both of those things would be amazing. Le Mans was something that I really wanted to do in the future, but the lure of going for a fourth would be tough to turn down. I mean, that to even be within a chance of going for a fourth it would be reason to go and do it. And you know, that's been one of the hard things, not to really to get a chance at doing that. And that would be tough in May. May will be tough because of that, I think. But yeah, that's the hand you're dealt, isn't it?
Final questions? Okay, thanks. We'll do a quick photo op with Dario.
Thank you, guys.
The Astor Cup and
it's
the
good
Borg
to see
Warner.
you all. Thank you.